Welcome, everyone, to Stay in Your Lane. I'm your host, John Mahle. Got Joe Lombardo with me, and our guest today at FSA 24, Thom Albrecht. Say hello, Thom.
Hello, FSA attendees, John, Joe, and everyone here.
So you're with Reliance Partners today, and you've been here for multiple years. How many years have you been coming to the conference?
I think the first year I came was 2004. So it's been great to develop so many relationships. Joe, I think we probably met one of my very first conferences.
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you get into the industry?
Well, so I was on Wall Street for a long time, 28 years. And Wall Street's kind of a euphemism. I never actually worked in New York City. That's more of a job description. So I worked at different investment banks and research firms in St. Louis, Chicago, and Richmond, Virginia. I always worked at more regional investment banks. But years ago, starting in the late 80s, found this niche of transportation. I was working for some senior analysts on an industrial team, and one day around 89 or 90, they said, hey, nobody does transportation here. You want to do it? And as I researched it, I found this crazy industry called truckload that had been deregulated 8 or 9 years earlier, and some amazing entrepreneurs, and got to know the industry throughout the 90s and thereafter, and stayed on Wall Street at a couple of different firms. And then that came to an end in July of 2016 when the place I was working at shut down the entire division. But during that time, developed a great love for transportation, logistics, also the equipment side. So it's been a wonderful career.
Very good. It's amazing. You get to come to a conference like this. There's people from all over, all different types of backgrounds, and they all have something wonderful to bring to the conference. I enjoy getting to sit down and interview everyone and talk. And I think, Joe, you appreciate getting to meet all the people. You were president
Of the food shippers, chairman of the board. Thom used to buy me drinks all the time at the bar.
I'll be there over there tonight.
Sucking up to the president. Okay.
You were overserved.
I was many times.
Yeah, it happens.
But Thom, just to back up to your career.
Yeah.
After 2016, you kind of made a career shift, didn't you? And
I did. I had some opportunities to stay doing what I'd been doing, but after 28 years, felt like it was a time for a change. And so for about a year, I did some consulting. So a lot of the big name brand motor carriers and even some shippers, I did a variety of projects for over the next 13 months. Did a major refrigerated food shipper survey for one of the large temp-controlled firms, surveyed 25 of the largest food shippers in the country and benchmarked their performance versus about 11 other motor carriers, and did a whole bunch of other work. So then I got this crazy call in the summer of 2017 about coming to work at Celadon, and they had a brand new CEO, and I said, I'm not coming to that place. That place is a nut house. And we kind of chuckled, and I was serious because they were under an SEC investigation, and there was just a lot of chaos there. But the more I thought about it, and the CEO was persistent, I went ahead and joined them in October of 2017. And while the ending wasn't great, we did a lot of great work. We cleaned up the SEC, settled that. Unfortunately, that turned into a Department of Justice investigation. And, there's a lot of stories I could go into there. Ultimately, we didn't make it. In December of 19, the company went under, and then had an outreach from this company called Reliance Partners, because I had known a couple of the folks there when they were in the freight brokerage industry before they went into the insurance industry. And after Celadon, I was a little bit stressed out, so I took some time off, and then joined the company in late April of 2020.
Okay. Maybe for our audience, maybe you can give us a rundown of what Reliance Partners does.
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know Reliance.
Yeah, so Reliance just celebrated our 15th birthday in February. So founded right in the heart of the great financial crisis, the great housing crisis, whatever you call that era of 2008, 2009. And we are an insurance agency, so we're an intermediary but we don't do life, home, and auto. All we do is transportation insurance. So we work with about 8,000 motor carriers and about 400 freight brokers, including almost half of the top 100 freight brokers. So providing liability insurance, cargo, physical damage for the motor carriers, and even general liability and sometimes cyber. So we love this industry. Probably 25 to 30% of our employees have either worked for a motor carrier or a freight broker or both before they got into the world of insurance. So we're very different that way. A lot of agencies are more what you kind of picture with, mahogany paneled walls and kind of a stiff corporate environment. We're a group of folks that hustle similar to the trucking industry.
Right. You don't do underwriting, do you?
We do not. We work with over 200 underwriters. We have more appointments than any other agency in the United States. Yeah, when I joined, we had just crossed $100 million in premiums, and we're right around $450 million of premiums today, just a little bit higher than that. So 98% of that growth has been organic or without acquisitions, and the remainder have been a couple of strategic acquisitions that have been absolute home runs for us.
So going back to what you said earlier, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
When you're insuring for cybersecurity, is that for cargo theft also?
No, it would be more hacks on the computer system, attacks that try to break into the financial system at a motor carrier. A lot of our customers don't go with that. That tends to be the larger customers. One thing I didn't make clear, Joe, is, there's different insurance agencies and niches. We have the largest market share in the 1 to 100 truck arena. So some of the more name brand agencies typically focus on fleets over 200 or over 500 trucks. Now we have a couple of customers right around 1,000 trucks. We have a couple of dozen between 500 and 1,000, but we have approximately 7,000 customers under 100
under
trucks.
100 loads?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a different perspective. My whole career, as you know, was in the larger motor carrier arena, both public and private. And then to get this exposure to all these, a lot of them are kind of one-lane wonders for the shipping community, has really been eye-opening. So it's been a lot of fun.
Do you do owner-operators or strictly?
We do owner-operators as well.
Okay.
We have OCAC programs, occupational accident programs for, let's say a motor carrier has 100 trucks, 80 company drivers, 20 owner-operators. We've got an answer there. Or even if we don't get their auto liability, we may do just the OCAC portion.
Okay.
So, that's a big area for us as well.
Now, when you say you do owner-operators, do you just do one truck, one authority owner-operator?
We will do the owner-operator who leases on or who has his own authority.
So you do both?
Yeah, we do. And the way we work, so we have about 120 agents, which is way more than anyone else. And our folks get trained. They may come out of college, or we've had a lot of success with folks coming out of the hospitality industry, maybe working at hotels, restaurants, Uber or Lyft drivers, or even bartenders. We've got a couple that were very successful bartenders, and they've come over and, they've got that keen sense. They're multitasking, they're responding to customers, but we train them on fleet or motor carriers with 1 to 4 trucks. They've got to do a handful of sales, and then they can begin to sell to fleets with 5 to 9 trucks. And then at the end of that period, we'll sit down and talk about what their path is going forward. We have some producers that never sell less than to 50 trucks. And then others kind of stay in that 1 to 9. Some will kind of morph out and do 10 to 25 trucks. And that's why we have so many insurance appointments, because the underwriters, some of them like the smaller end, some like the medium end. There's it's the full gamut, as you can imagine.
Now, so, it's not the one T-shirt fits all.
Right.
You have you have all parts are equally represented in your network. That's got to be nice to bring balance.
It is. So we have a lot of customers. We have our largest customer is maybe, I think, 3% of revenues. whereas a lot of the asset-based truckload carriers have one or two customers over 10% of revenues. The negative for us has been that because we have such a large share in the smaller motor carrier arena, they've also been some of the fleets that have struggled the most in the last, 18 to 24 months.
Oh, yes, definitely.
We've seen some real insights there. I would also add one other thing before I maybe share kind of what we think is happening in the marketplace, but we've really tried to bring some new products to the marketplace. So one of our acquisitions was in February of 2021. We bought a small agency out of Ohio that had worked with an underwriter to develop Mexican cargo insurance. And that heretofore had never been something that was possible to have. Even if you had cargo insurance and the freight originated near Toronto, went all the way down to the border, as soon as you crossed the border, that load was no longer covered. And so that's one of our fastest growing products. And then also user-based insurance for cargo. So that motor carrier who has a shipper that every 10th or 15th load, it's a $500,000 or $700,000 value of freight. They don't have to say no to that. They can go out and buy the excess cargo just for that load. And that's, again, one of our fastest growing products. And we're actually selling a lot of those to shippers directly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of the folks that are here at this conference, in fact, that I won't name, but it's not a niche product for ABC shipper. It's Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 shippers that are getting these shippers only or shippers interest policies. So
that's what it's called, the shipper's interest.
Shipper's interest, okay. Exactly.
Continue watching on the next episode of the Stay in Your Lane podcast.